So apparently these four-cylinder hybrids are the worst thing to happen to trucks since, well, whatever YouTube decided Toyota ruined last. The comments are relentless, gutless, laggy. Sounds like a vacuum cleaner having an existential crisis. And you know what? I get it. On paper, a turbocharged four-cylinder hybrid in something called the Land Cruiser does sound like Toyota asked ChatGPT to design a powertrain. And here's the thing, I've spent the week with this Land Cruiser 1958, and the story is a bit more complicated than the internet would like you to believe. What's it like? Buckle up, my friends. Let's go for a drive. I'm your host, Brian Makse, racer, lover of driving fast, fun things, and on this channel, you get reviews for drivers from drivers. Now, this all-new Land Cruiser finds itself at the center of one of the most heated automotive debates I've seen in a really long time. But I'm going to tell you one thing that those keyboard warriors don't understand. 465 pounds of torque doesn't care about your feelings. I've spent the week actually driving this Land Cruiser 1958, and my experience tells a very different story than the comments section. And before we get into what it's like to drive, let's have a look at it in a little more depth. Toyota's been building the Land Cruiser since 1951, which means it survived the Korean War, the rise and fall of Blockbuster, and apparently 3 different Fast and Furious movie franchises. The body-on-frame platform underneath this Land Cruiser is shared with everything from Tacomas to Tundras. This latest generation Land Cruiser is exclusively hybrid, using Toyota's iForce Max hybrid system. It's based around a 2.4-liter 4-cylinder with the turbocharger, and combined, everything makes 326 horsepower at 6,000 RPM and 465 pounds of torque at 1,700 RPM. The transmission's an 8-speed automatic. As standard equipment, it has full-time 4-wheel drive, a 2-speed transfer case with locking center and rear diffs. Steering's electrically assisted. Suspension is double wishbones at the front, multi-link at the rear with coil springs and regular dampers. The braking system is actually brake-by-wire with 4-piston calipers at the front, single piston at the rear. Wheels and tires are 18s, towing capacity is 6,000 pounds, and curb weight of this one is a little over 5,000 pounds. In 1958 trim, it does have fabric seats with manual adjustments. Ground clearance is 8.7 inches with a 32-degree approach and a 22-degree departure angle. And as standard equipment, there's a 2,400-watt inverter here in the back to power everything you could ever need at your campsite. Did you know that 80% of you are not subscribed? Yes, it's true. 80% of you are not subscribed. I checked the data. So if you like the content on this channel, do me a solid, hit that subscribe button, make sure you like this. And if you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below. Lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merch. Now back to your regularly scheduled episode. When I first opened the door of this 1958, I was struck by the fact that we have cloth upholstery, and I was thrilled. Then I sat here and tried to find my ideal seating position, discovered that the seat adjustments as well as the steering column were all manual. And save the manuals, my friends. Anyway, once I'm here and set up, this is a great place to be. The seating position here hits that sweet spot where everything just feels right. All of the fundamentals are spot on. The seat is comfortable, it's shaped appropriately, great over long distances. The steering wheel is perfectly sized for just about everyone except those who have heard about sport steering wheels, and we're definitely happier for it here in the Land Cruiser. The pedal spacing works perfectly whether you're wearing flip-flops, skate shoes, or work boots, and I've tried all 3. Sitting here is like finding the perfect office chair, but in this case, this office chair can tow 6,000 pounds and will probably survive the next apocalypse. Because you're seated high off the road and you've got all this tall glass, great outboard mirrors, by the way. You can see just about everything. Yes, there's a backup camera to make parking easy, but inherent visibility is top-notch. What we are faced with is a modern Toyota interior. This is a Land Cruiser. The interior design and materials is exactly what happens when Toyota sends their designers to hang out at REI for a while. Everything seems rugged, durable, and extremely outdoorsy. We do have some modern Toyota ergonomics, and everything is simple and straightforward, easy to deal with. There's no learning curve here. There's no odd placement for any switches. The interior design philosophy is refreshingly straightforward here, especially in an era when other SUVs are meant to look like spaceship control rooms designed by people who have never left Silicon Valley. And the entire button layout makes sense after about 2 minutes instead of requiring a computer science degree. Because this is a Land Cruiser, of course, we've got a drive mode selector. There's some off-road modes, off-road functionality, as well as switches for the locking center diff and rear diff. And of course, this is full-time four-wheel drive, so our choices are 4 high and 4 low here. The infotainment system is Toyota's latest. It's simple, straightforward. The 8-inch touchscreen here is a little out of place, but at least it is quick and responsive. While some manufacturers are trying to get you all excited by 17-inch screens and 47 different ambient lighting modes like they're trying to recreate Vegas in an SUV, this Land Cruiser experience is very different. Toyota gives you an 8-inch touchscreen and calls it a day. USB ports where you'd expect them to be, and climate controls that use actual switches that you can operate wearing gloves. It's like they watched every other car maker turn their SUVs into smartphones on wheels and said, nah, we're good. There is no wireless charger, even though you can connect wirelessly to the infotainment system. I'm using it on wireless CarPlay right now. What that means is, of course, you got to bring some cables with you and connect your phone that way if you want to keep it charged while you're driving. Interior storage is a 10 out of 10. There's a total of 8 cup holders all throughout the cabin here, probably because Toyota knew that Americans would find a way to need them all, as if they decided pumpkin spice would be a year-long thing. Lots of storage in the armrest, storage in the door pockets as well. And Toyota has that one great feature at the back. You can pop open the rear glass separate from the hatch so you can access things on the inside. Lots of room here in the driver's seat, lots of headroom as well. There is no sunroof here. Lots of room for your passenger in that second row. Very, very spacious. And if I'm seated behind myself in the seating position, there's tons of room in that second row. I don't know how much you can put in the back under that hatch, but there's a ton of space there as well, so you can carry all kinds of things with your Land Cruiser, as you'd expect. Everybody's complaining about the fact that Toyota put a 4-cylinder in this latest Land Cruiser like it's some kind of automotive war crime. But here's the thing, that 465 pounds of torque doesn't care about your displacement anxiety. This isn't some kind of compliance hybrid slapped together for cafe standards. It's a properly engineered system that makes this truck faster, more efficient, and more responsive than the old one. Complaining about this drivetrain is like complaining your Swiss Army knife has too many useful tools. 0 to 60 is possible in 7.7 seconds, top speed a little over 100 miles an hour. 465 pounds of torque gets this thing up to speed. You're always in the sweet spot of that torque curve, no matter what gear you're in. Anytime you're looking for acceleration, just lean into the throttle and you get it instantaneously. Plus, this engine is happy to rev all the way to redline because it is a modern turbo 4. It makes peak power way up in the rev range, and as a modern power unit, it just works. The 8-speed automatic shifts smoother than most people's attempts at small talk, which is saying something because most people are lousy at small talk. Toyota's engineers apparently spent more time calibrating this gearbox than most people spend choosing a Netflix show, and the results are even more satisfying. You've got manual control if you want it, but honestly, the automatic mode is so good you'll forget that you can shift this manually. It's still responsive enough for spirited driving, but smooth enough that your coffee won't spill, even if you're the kind of driver who drinks coffee while driving a SUV at this price point. As I'm sure you've heard throughout the episode, we do have some 4-cylinder sound. That's one thing we can't escape, but the fact of the matter is this thing delivers torque all the time. Plus, the electric motor of the hybrid system fills in for any turbo lag that might be present, and it does it almost like this is naturally aspirated, except with better fuel consumption numbers. Two things about this hybrid power unit. Number one, it makes more torque than most V8s, and it probably gets better fuel consumption than all naturally aspirated V8s. And because they put basically an all-around happy-go-lucky kind of all-season tire on this 1958, we didn't do any kind of off-roading. So did not test out the center locking diff or the rear locking diff in any meaningful way. There just wasn't the occasion for it. Regular viewers of the show know that any kind of off-roading is defined by the tire, and with this more all-season oriented rubber, I was not willing to tempt fate. But I will say that it's very easy to switch on and off the locking diffs, but maybe another time with a different tire, we can try out those locking diffs and the rest of these four-wheel drive modes. When it comes to handling, the first thing I will say is that they've tuned this suspension for comfort more so than anything else. Ride is extremely comfortable. I think the tires certainly have something to do with it. Tires are quiet as well. And overall ride quality, very, very comfortable here. Because that suspension is set up more so for comfort than anything else, we do have a little bit of extra secondary body movement. Wheel control, on the other hand, is exceptionally well done, and the dampers do a great job of ensuring that those tires stay in contact with the road. And when we're rounding a corner like we are here, yes, there is a little bit of body roll. This is a full-size body-on-frame SUV, after all, with a tall center of gravity, and I wouldn't expect any less. But when we're here cruising on the open road, it is exceptionally comfortable and quiet in here. Yeah, if there is a dynamic highlight, it's definitely the brakes. The brakes stop this thing like it owes the Land Cruiser money, which is both impressive and slightly terrifying depending on your relationship with physics. The pedal feel is so good, it makes you wonder why other manufacturers struggle with this seemingly basic concept. It's like Toyota hired the one person who actually knows how to make a brake pedal feel awesome. Progressive, predictable, and the brakes are powerful enough that it'll make your passengers question their life choices and your driving abilities simultaneously. Steering is electrically assisted, as you know, and the ratio is a little on the slower side. So what that means is in certain parking situations, you got a little bit of extra steering that needs to happen, but it's still very easy to park this thing. There's a decent amount of heft to the assist here. Feels kind of natural. There's not a lot of feel or feedback that comes through this system. And we round another bend, lots of steering input, a little bit of body roll. Of course, this is a bumpy road because in this part of the world, the road surfaces are terrible, but the suspension is doing a great job of soaking up all of those bumps. Sure, the steering has about as much feel as a diplomatic handshake, but it will allow you to carve a line through a corner with the confidence of a politician who's showing some strong polling numbers. Toyota's tuned it to be light enough to ease your way through parking lots, but weighted enough so that you don't feel like you're stirring pudding on the highway. Seriously though, the steering responds to inputs faster than most people respond to text messages, and unlike text responses, it's actually helpful and gets you where you want to go. How do you spec yours? Well, thankfully, this is an easy question to answer. What you are looking at is a 2025 Land Cruiser 1958, finished in brown sugar metallic paint, or meteor shower, as it's called in Canada. And fun fact, they're exactly the same paint code. As well, this has the black cloth interior, which looks more like gray to my eyes. One thing to keep in mind is the 1958 is the entry-level basic model. There are no options with this one. Base price and as tested in the United States is $56,700. In Canada, it's $70,195, and these prices are before freight, taxes, fees, etc. These prices are supposed to make this Land Cruiser the budget option, but here's the thing. This gives you 90% of the Land Cruiser experience for significantly less money than the fancier trim. You get the same legendary capability, the same hybrid powertrain, the same legendary Toyota reliability, just with cloth seats with manual adjustments. In terms of speccing yours, if you are looking at a 1958, well, the answer is really easy. Simply pick your color and be happy with your 1958. If you are looking for some different things, whether it's a leather interior or a Softex interior, or the front sway bar disconnect, well, you have to go up the trim line in the Land Cruiser range. My verdict? Well, let's start with fuel consumption because this is a hybrid after all, and it is working for me. I'm getting about 20 miles per gallon or 12 liters per 100 kilometers from my Canadian friends, and that's in mixed city and highway driving. And for me, that's a win. For most people, probably not. And speaking of which, I'd love to hear from Land Cruiser owners to understand what kind of fuel consumption you're getting in the real world, so please drop a comment below. As for this 1958, I think this is Toyota's middle finger to the luxury SUV arms race, and it's about time that somebody prioritizes functionality over Instagram aesthetics. Look, is this iForce Max perfect? No. Does it sound like a naturally aspirated V8? Well, obviously not. But here's what the keyboard warriors miss. This powertrain delivers 465 pounds of torque at 1700 RPM. That's not a number. That's what you feel when you need to accelerate and merge into traffic, when you're climbing a hill, when you actually drive the Land Cruiser instead of reading specs. The hybrid system fills in the turbo lag so completely that the power delivery feels almost naturally aspirated. And yes, it's efficient, but more importantly for drivers like you and me, it's responsive. And don't forget, sometimes the internet's loudest voices come from people who have never turned a wheel in anger. If you're still complaining about this hybrid powertrain after driving the Land Cruiser, well, the problem isn't the truck. It's your relationship with change and progress. This is the kind of SUV that happens when a manufacturer builds a vehicle for people who actually use their trucks instead of people who just want to look like they do. While everyone is adding massaging seats and ambient lighting, Toyota just made a truck that works exceptionally well at being a truck. And if you're looking for a truck that actually goes places instead of just impressing people, well, this is your answer. This truck will probably outlast my YouTube channel, all of my camera equipment, and probably my ability to remember why I started making car videos in the first place. Thanks for hanging out with me today and having a look at this 2025 Toyota Land Cruiser 1958. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, you're not new, you know what to do. Smash the subscribe button, turn on your notifications, like this, and as always, sharing is caring, so please share this, especially on Reddit, because on Reddit, they really need to see reviews for drivers from drivers. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below. Lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merch. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you again next time. And remember, cars don't understeer by themselves, not even Toyota Land Cruisers. And if you hung around this long, we'll have a look at our previous Land Cruiser episode. That was with the first edition, and we took it off-roading. I think you might appreciate the differences between this 1958 and that first edition. Thanks again for watching. See you again next time.